The Nature Photo Guys podcast is brought to you by our friends at the Camera Store, located in Calgary, Alberta, Canada.
It's our go-to spot for everything photography and video. Whether you're just starting out or you're a seasoned pro, the Camera Store has what you need.
And the best part, they ship right across Canada with free shipping on most orders over $99.
The Camera Store is a legendary name in photography, so make sure to check them out today at camerastore.com.
Welcome to the Nature Photo Guys podcast,
where we talk about nature photography, from gear to our philosophies and everything in between.
So grab a cup of coffee, sit back and relax.
You're listening to Joe Desjardins
and Chris Gibbs, the Nature Photo Guys.
Hey guys, welcome to the Nature Photo Guys podcast.
We're very excited to welcome our next guest. He's a landscape photographer, speaker, and teacher based in the Rocky Mountains of Alberta, Canada. He is an award-winning and published photographer known for a bold photographic style that highlights the intimate details and nuances of the natural world. A fine art photographer with an adventurous spirit, he enjoys spending time in the outdoors and immersing himself in his subject in order to capture scenes in the moment. His elegant and soulful approach to photography is matched by a passion to challenge himself, explore wild places, and have fun while doing it. Please welcome to the show, Lee Nordbye.
Well, hello, Mr. Lee. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. I'm so excited to be on this podcast, guys.
That's awesome.
Welcome.
Really appreciate you coming on. And actually, it's kind of a funny story because we're just talking about this. We messaged a little on Instagram, and I sent you a message saying, "Hey, Lee, do you want to be on the podcast?" You sent a message. It's like, "Hey, guys, awesome podcast. Let's get on and do an episode." And it was just like a matter of seconds where we crossed over.
You guys must have hit send at the same time.
We must have. So now,
the only time it didn't arrive at the same time is because of the metaverse stuff, right? Or the internet, right? It probably held up in wherever. Yeah, no,
exactly.
Great minds think alike, gentlemen. Great minds think alike.
That was it. So super stoked about that. So excited to get started, Lee. And of course, like all podcasts, we have our list of questions. And as always, the very first one there is to tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I'm a fine art landscape photographer based out of Canmore, Alberta, in the foot of the Rockies. And I really took up photography. My dad inspired me to get into photography. And I'm dating myself now. I got a Kodak Instamatic as my first camera, and I would carry that around on holidays and always got super excited. We lived in a small town in northern Alberta, so they had to send the film away to get developed. And so like 5 days to a week later, I'd come into the store and there they would be, and I'd be so excited to check out the images that I've got. Yeah. Nothing to the quality that we shoot today, but it was always fun to check out those images. And then,
oh, for sure.
I really I describe my journey as I would take nice pictures up until 2015 when I took a workshop in the Northwest Territories, an Aurora workshop. And I don't know, it was 50 below, but somehow I came home with a fire in my belly to figure out photography from an art form. Right? I'm not sure how a fire starts in minus 50, but it did. And really since then, I've been exploring the photography as an art form. And then in 2017, after the company I worked for decided I needed a career change, I
that's an awesome way to put it. Okay.
That's how it works.
Yeah.
Yeah, I figured that's the best way to put it.
Yeah.
And Lee, I think about 2017 is when you started to grow that epic beard. Am I correct?
18, 1 year later.
18, 1 year later. Okay.
Coincidence. That's when I started mine too. That's perfect.
Well, this beard is way longer. It was down to my chest bone, actually, at one point.
Really?
Oh, wow.
But, the grooming of it and my wife,
Yeah.
happy wife, happy life. I had to trim her back.
But did you actually shave it completely once between 18 and now?
Nope.
Or has it always been? So
it's always been in just different lengths.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Because I was
awesome.
kind of snooping on your Facebook and going back and, get a little bit of history and stuff. And I seen in 2017, you basically had a goat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I thought, that's probably when he started. It wasn't in around there, same as Chris, right? Only his is still a goat.
I haven't trimmed mine yet. I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know. Something in 2018, the winter of 2018, I don't know, I decided to grow it because growing up, or working in the oil patch like I did for so many years, you can't have this, right? Especially when I was on
that's right.
So I was always prevented from good reason from having it. So I decided in 18 to explore a beard. I never thought I could grow it, but apparently I can.
Wow. Very impressive.
Awesome.
That's
I'm
awesome.
sure people know you from your beard. Even that side profile shot you got on there, it's like, oh yeah, that's Lee. You can scroll and then it's like, oh yeah, that's Lee, without even the name attached to it.
Well, it's the weirdest thing. Since I've grown the beard, I think of when I go out with Paul or when I'm with Dave or whatever, they always want to use me as a model, right?
Oh, for sure.
Of course.
Yeah. And so I think, so now I go along, I'm walking down the street or walking in a trail somewhere, and they go, hey, Lee, how's it going? I'm like, who the heck are you?
Yeah, exactly.
No kidding. It's your identity.
It's a good feeling, though, like people
absolutely.
know you from the photographic community, right?
The funniest thing, though, is sometimes I get noticed before Paul, which is quite funny.
Nice.
Perfect.
We were photographing at Lake Louise one day, and we got to the parking lot to head out to wherever we were going the next. And this lady comes up to me and goes, hey, you're Lee Nordbye, right? And I go, yeah. That must make you Paul.
That's
awesome. That is so good. That is
perfect.
Oh my God.
Goodness.
Yeah, we get the same.
Hilarious.
Yeah, that's the other nature photo guy. Yeah. So depending on who they're talking to.
Hey, is that Joe? Oh, there's the other nature photo guy. At the very first Light Chasers, I had the other nature photo guy on my name. Yeah.
And I did. Yeah, we're back and forth, right?
Embrace it, Chris. Way to embrace it, my friend.
Exactly, right? Run with it.
Yeah. For sure. So I asked you earlier and asked you about camera systems. And so you got to tell us why you went from one to the other.
So it's quite simple, actually. The people I adventure with, 90% of them are Canon shooters, right? And so the ability to manage total bulk and weight between all of us, when exchanging lenses, like borrowing lenses or exchanging lenses when we're on big adventures,
that's a great idea.
Or cards or whatever, right? And we've done that, right?
Very cool.
I never thought about that. That's a great idea for sure.
Either,
weight distribution.
So when we go up on these, like for example, I was out with Paul and Chris earlier this summer. They brought their 2 wides and I brought my 70 to 200, and so
perfect.
We could, and we in fact did exchange lenses at one point in the trip. So
excellent.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah. What did you go with, or where did you come from? You went from Nikon to Canon.
Yeah, I went with Nikon. My dad was a Nikon shooter, and so we could exchange lenses as well, right? And so I went with Nikon. I went up to the D800. I think I had one of the first D800s in Edmonton.
Oh, nice.
And and bought all the lenses, including they were all very heavy, and the technology was 10 years out of date. And so, in technology terms, that's like a lifetime, right? So in 2021, I decided to switch to mirrorless, and we went over why. So, and then I took the big plunge and converted the whole system.
So what camera bodies are you shooting now?
I have 2 R5s.
Yeah, we're all in the same realm here. R5s, and the R5C, and do you shoot video at all, Lee, with your R5s now? Like, is it just all your stills?
I am I'm a neophyte when it comes to video. I shoot the typical. I got to feed the Instagram, right, with the stories and stuff. So I'll shoot videos with my iPhone when I'm out and about, whether it's behind the scenes or just a day in the adventure of. But
Sure.
I don't do video. It's a lot of work. I've tried. It's a lot of work.
Oh,
It is a lot of work.
that's why I get Chris to set up my cameras and I hit the little red button. I just keep saying that and over again, it's one of those things where, Lee, I've been fighting it for how long, Chris? Like even before we started this, like I just balked at it because I'm a photographer. But now, I'm enjoying it a little bit more, obviously, with especially wildlife behavior and stuff like that. But I was really curious to see if you actually jumped over to, I guess, the other side of R5.
No, I struggle to edit my images that I take, let alone spend what I would think is more time editing video. I've got a backlog of images I got to edit. I don't need a backlog of video to edit as well.
Well, I still have like 2 years of video that I need to go through. So yeah, I know you're right. I mean, it definitely, it's like anything, finding time to edit photos, finding time to edit video and crop it and export it and color it. You're right. Yeah, for sure. But it's fun.
And I feel like editing video is way more intense.
I guess it depends on what you're used to. I mean, I've been editing video for 30 years kind of thing. Yeah, so, it comes quite natural, but you're right. I mean, definitely if you're just getting into it, it's a little bit of a difference, but it's almost, what would you say, Joe? Is it a quick learning, or are you still like for colorizing and everything is pretty straightforward? It's similar to Lightroom.
So Lee, it is like, so I just use like desktop. I have Premiere Pro, but I find that a little bit of a steep learning curve. So I'm just using CapCut. It's a free desktop software, and it's so easy. You import, it's on the timeline, cut it into clips on the right-hand side. Cool. It's just like Lightroom or Photoshop, or whatever, adjust brightness, contrast, color, everything else. And then as long as you got the right export settings, because you can crop it to a vertical, like was it 916 or whatever, and export. So I'm getting better at that, but to do that high-end video, cinematic, documentary style, like 4K, 8K, all the jargon I don't understand. It's quite the learning curve. So you got me covered for sure.
I got you covered.
And that's really the video I think about. When I think about video, it's the high-end stuff. I edit like yesterday. Speaking of 9:16, I tried to create a vertical video in iMovie, and then I got it all done. I exported it, and I'm like, it's so small. How come? Because I started in a landscape format, and I'm like, I got to go back, and I had to redo it all.
So you got the black bars.
Yeah, and I had to redo it all.
Yeah.
I'm like,
sure.
Exactly.
And that's where CapCut is super easy for that kind of stuff. You can kind of, WYSIWYG, what you see is what you get. So it's super easy tool. So yeah.
Cool.
Something to think about, Lee, if you're getting into that, because
what's the name of it again?
CapCut.
CapCut. Cool. I'll check that out.
Yeah, CapCut. And your phone too, Lee.
Yeah, they have an iPhone app as well.
On the iPhone app, I mean, I can pound out like a reel in a couple minutes, easy.
Oh, awesome.
Like in and out. Awesome. So of course, learning curve. Sit on the couch, watch your favorite podcast. Nature Photo Guys, and you can go through all the video on your phone and learn it. But 100%. So
100%, absolutely.
100%. So. The reason I asked about the video was primarily because of your mountain adventures. I didn't know if, time lapse were a thing for you, you know what I mean? And that sort of thing with the clouds and sunrise, sunsets and stuff like that.
The funniest thing you bring up time lapses is I was on we have an annual backcountry adventure with photographer friends. And so we were in Ram Glacier area, and I think we're sitting around after dinner one date, and I'm going, you know what I need to do? I need to do more time lapses. So we got up the next day and we hiked up a ridge, sitting on the saddle there, and the clouds are whipping by like you wouldn't believe, right? And so I just handheld, I created a time lapse on my iPhone, right? But yeah, exactly to your point, Joe. I think when I get, on those nice summer days when you're up high and it's warm on the peak and you're not being blown over. Setting up the time lapse
for sure.
Well,
would be cool, right?
It's not even with the R5 now, because like you said, your phone, the few time lapse I have, from Abraham Lake and stuff like that, they're just on my GoPro mounted below my tripod when I was doing some landscape stuff. So
Yeah.
all that stuff's pretty amazing. Hey, Chris, like you've seen the quality of the video.
For sure. And the beauty part of it is, I mean, if you're set up for like a long exposure and you're photographing, before you get doing that, we sometimes just put our cameras down, set up a time lapse, and then we're focused on here. And then once we're done here, we come back and it's created a time lapse while we're taking another photo, and it's kind of get the best of both worlds. So
Yeah, no, it's a great idea.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I just get in the zone and I forget all about that stuff, right?
We can 100% relate because
Oh,
Chris
yeah.
and I have these grand plans every time we're out for the outgrad for a week. These grand plans of doing podcasts in the field and taking a break and you know,
What's in
take
your
a
bag
video
videos.
and all this kind of stuff. And we recorded zero because you're caught up in the moment. Elk are fighting, they're running, they're like, you know what I mean? And I totally get it, Lee, because you do want to be in the moment too, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, Paul's mentioned that too in his podcast about, because when we asked him about video, the exact same answer. He doesn't want that to take away from the enjoyment and the process and everything of taking a photo, you know? And I totally get that, like 100%. So again, why I asked you about video, you know, just kind of to get a feel for which direction you're headed. So.
Well, right now, I think I'm going to stick with stills and then do the odd behind the scenes stuff, right?
Yeah. And I think that's enough.
Do you find the behind the scenes stuff actually help draw more to your feed? Like they can get to see what you're doing behind the scenes. You can talk to your.
I think people really like that actually.
Yeah.
And I know I've sent it out in my newsletter, and often I get responses back saying, "Hey, that's cool. Thanks for letting me know," or "Hey, that was a cool video," or
awesome,
a cool story, right?
Yeah.
I do think people like it, right? Like they appreciate some of the effort that we as photographers have to go through to get an image. It's not just show up to a location, snap the button, and we're home, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Well, I find that stuff a lot. Well, I mean, the end image is great to see, but I find myself that the behind the scenes stuff a lot more interesting sometimes, or not even. I don't want to take away from the final image, anyone's final image, but how they got there. You know, I don't care about camera settings and all this kind of stuff, but you know, from start to finish, like, oh my God, it's so awesome. It's about sharing your adventures, right? So,
well, whether it's your adventures or, hey, I'm looking at this scene and this is what I see, right? And this is why I see it, right?
You can be instructional too, 100%.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Or it's just, I love behind the scenes. Actually, I'm with you, Joe. I'm like, when I see behind the scenes photos or videos, I stop on when I'm flipping through my Instagram or Facebook. It's a hard stop for me, right? And
for sure,
pay attention.
Yeah, I totally get that.
And I think it also helps, like, if people can see the process of how you've got to the location and taken the photo, when they see your final image, they're almost like connected to that image, right? They have a connection with you, and a connection of what it took you to create that photo, and maybe they're drawn to it and want to purchase that, you know, kind of thing as well.
Yeah. And so I have found, like, I do one of my presentations I do is artist adventures and misadventures in the mountains, right? And it's all the behind the scenes stories of how I got to where I got to, and then why I took the image and stuff, right? And it's a big hit, that presentations, and I love to do it. And then to your point, Chris, people love to hear that, and they get more invested in your work and your journey, right?
For sure. Yeah. They want to see the next one and see, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
In that case, do you feel pressure to make more on purpose just to feed that, or are you just kind of?
No, I've got so many stories and images that are sitting on my hard drive that I don't feel too much pressure at all. And I'm out so much anyways, right? So I was just out yesterday.
Yeah.
Almost got blown off bloody Sentinel Ridge, right? So that will become, and I looked at the one and only image I took in probably the windiest part of the day and part of that trip. I took an image and I looked at it in the back of my camera anyways, and I quite like it. So that'll be another one, right?
Nice.
So,
well, and you know, you bring up a good point there too, Lee, is that, okay, you went through this entire effort and you only took one image, but the day wasn't a failure. Yeah. I mean, you still got out, you adventured, you took a photo, you enjoyed the, nature, the company, so I think people have this misconception too, that when we go out to take photographs, if we don't come back with like an award-winning image, were disappointed or it was a failure, when
Well,
in fact it's
we're
the
not.
opposite.
Yeah.
It's a great point, Joe, because when I put that P word in front of me, professional, in 2017, that's the mindset I had to go. I went out with, and whether I was trying to take portraits or landscapes or whatever image I was trying to take, I'd come back. I'd either be excited in the field and come back, and then I'd be so disappointed when I pulled it up under the big screen that I got into a very dark place.
Oh, really?
Myself. I put myself there, right? Because of the mindset that I had. And so coming out of that dark place in 18,
Yeah.
I decided that my sole purpose is to go out and have fun, even on a client shoot, just to go out and have fun. Now, obviously, client shoots are a bit more pressure because you got to get the images, right? But
Absolutely.
if I go out with a mindset of having fun and enjoying the moment, 90% of the time, I'm rewarded with something, right? It may not be an award-winning image.
Oh, for sure.
It may not be but it's something, right?
That's great. Yeah, you got to be positive, I guess, right? So go out there with the proper mindset. Yeah.
This is a perfect segue into our next question there, Lee, because I want you to talk a little bit about your mountain therapy days and the importance of nature on, mental health. So if you can, chat a little bit about that, that'd be great.
Yeah. So I have been challenged with depression and anxieties. I think I was first diagnosed in 2009 and went up and down on like a yo-yo roller coaster from 2009 to 2017 when I had my last, call it big challenge, where I went. I fortunately I never went so dark as to think of the suicide, but I was pretty dark. And I learned that coming out of that, I never wanted to experience that again. Like it was 3 times, and each time was several months, if not a year. I never wanted to do that again. So, I sought out medical help in terms of, us old guys, unfortunately, our testosterone levels are diminishing naturally. And then as you get older, they diminish. And so I learned that I had testosterone issues. I got that balanced out. And then I discovered that every time I went out into the mountains, whether it was just car shooting with friends or some epic adventure, I had a blast. And that if weeks went by and I didn't go out, I could start to feel it, right? And my family would feel it and kick me out the door, right? And it's about being
Wow.
It's about being in the moment, whether I'm in the moment taking a photograph or in the moment, making sure I don't fall off a mountain or an ice cave collapse on me. I'm in the moment, right? I'm out with friends. We're solving the world's problems, right? Just chatting away. And Mother or nature just always provides epic stuff that you can enjoy and either photograph or just sit back and enjoy it. There's the fresh air, there's the exercise. It's all rolled up into one. You can go to the gym and get exercise, but you don't have all of that other fresh air and camaraderie with your friends and being in the moment.
The scenery,
doing, right?
Just everything.
Yeah, and so nature gives you all of that.
Just takes you away. Yeah.
It takes you. Honestly, I don't think about the world's crap that's going on in the world or the crap that's going on in my family, with my family and I, right, in my life. I'm totally focused in on whatever we're doing.
Oh, you bet.
Right, and that's the power of nature. I don't think you can get that anywhere else, right? And not to say that everybody needs to run out into nature. I think my learning is whatever it is when you have mental health challenges, you need to find that thing. Me, it's mountain therapy day, and I do go to the gym. I do go to yoga, but it's the mountain therapy days that is my thing. And if I need to get out and explore, I will do it to reset my mind, right? So whatever it is, people got to find their thing.
Wow, that's excellent.
That's amazing. You found your thing, and you've learned that and understand what you need to do. So that's great.
Well, you get lost in the creation of that image, right?
Oh yeah, you get totally lost, focused in on, okay, I need to move an inch here, I need to move an inch there, I need to whatever I need to do, right? Or I need to make sure that my hand is in the right hold, right? So on a
You bet.
slope, right? So I don't slip falling down and take one of my buddies out or something, right? So, or just in the moment, looking at whatever's blowing up in your face in front of by nature, right? Epic sunset, sunrise, clouds moving around, right? Snowing in July.
Yeah. But you're right, be in the moment, right? So
yeah, exactly.
So I got a question then. Did that affect your style of photography at all? The black and white? I'm not sure if there's a correlation there with what you were feeling and your style.
I can't say for sure, but I have pondered that question frequently. Right. I am my imagery is very bold. I describe it as bold in terms of especially my editing style, right? Like I push pixels around and make things, a lot of stuff, the blacks black, and I'm not so heavy into really pushing the whites, but I push shadows around a lot, right? And I love those scenes where you got this, right? I find for me in the Rockies, the hour or two after sunrise and the hour or two before sunset to be my favorite time, or days where it's cloudy, but there's patches of light that appear on a mountainside or on a peak or somewhere. Those are my favorite black and white days. And then those images end up in the studio and I push things around and make them, most of them dark.
Yeah. And that's why the question,
but light at the same time. And so it's never been a conscious decision of myself, Joe. But has it intuitively happened? Easily. It easily could have happened intuitively, or just, that's the way I'm feeling it. But I've never consciously said, okay, I'm feeling dark today, I'm going to push this image.
Yeah.
It's just, I shoot and edit with my heart and my stomach. So if I get butterflies in my stomach and my heart goes a pitter patter, I've hit the sweet spot.
Yeah, you bet.
How much time would you spend on an image, Lee? Like, do you try to get it more in camera originally, obviously, but then do you spend a lot of time in post?
Yeah. So, and a lot of color photographers may jump out at the screen when I say this, but I believe editing in black and white is way more important than editing in color. And perhaps it's my bias, but I spend way more time, what I call selective editing, right? In an image to bring out the story I want to tell. And so I use Silver FX, and that's the global edits take me 10 minutes.
Okay.
Right. Like I got that process down pretty pat. Then I'm back into Lightroom, and I can spend a long time, especially if I want to turn the sky pure black. Right. And I got to get those edges with the mountain or a ridge perfect. Because the thing that catches my eye a lot is if I see images where people have run a brush over something and they leave a halo because it's not been done right. And that catches my eye and my images, my own
it's
images.
Apparent.
And others' images. And so I spend an inordinate amount of time coloring within the lines, for the lack of better words, to get that right. So that can take me a long time.
Sure.
So it really depends on the image, Chris.
Have you found the tools these days, like the subject awareness and all that they've added to Lightroom and Photoshop, helped you a little bit more?
Oh, those Lightroom masking tools are making my life way easier. Like the sky selection in the mountains still doesn't work. It still doesn't work, right? Like it selects part of the peak, but I love the luminosity masking tool. Like, so I'll brush an area and I don't have to get, if there's a lot of contrast, I don't have to get close, because I'll just brush and brush and brush. And then if I pull the luminosity mask, right, it'll do it for me, right, in some areas. So I don't have to be as precise in some areas, right? But I love that luminosity masking tool in Lightroom. It's been a game changer for me, anyways. And the grad tool, you know, I like the grad tool where I can use it and then subtract off what I don't want in the area, right? So if I've got a triangle shape, but I can use that. Yeah, so those tools are way better.
It's almost given us a bit more time back to our lives, hasn't it?
Absolutely. Even
absolutely. There we go.
100%.
Absolutely.
That's
Absolutely. Okay, there you go.
He gets it.
I got it.
Oh, that's a running joke with a group of friends of mine and I.
Oh, yeah.
Anything that ends in LY,
yeah,
they have to make a joke about it. So
purposely.
Exactly.
Oh God.
Joe's like, oh my God, what's going on?
Wow.
This podcast is
going downhill. Cut. And we're done. So it's great having you on the podcast, Lee. But getting back to your edits, looking at your website, you do offer like classes or lessons for people that want to learn your editing style too, right? So that's great.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when I was in the corporate world, I did a lot of teaching and I enjoyed it, right? And I've extended that into my photography world. I love going out into workshops. I don't like the marketing of the workshop so much. That's a whole different story. But in the workshop itself, being in the moment with those people and helping them capture an image or figure stuff out is so exciting and thrilling. And so I do offer a private lesson. So if you're in the Rockies area and want to get out and learn some landscape photography or what I look for in the field in terms of black and white and all that, we can head out, or virtual lessons if you live afar. Because I love to help people in journey. I got so much help. I have gotten so much help, both paid for and, you know, just informal help, that I wouldn't be anywhere near where I'm at in my journey without it, right? And so I just want to help people advance their own journey, whether it's just to take better photos to hang on their wall and they have no interest in making money, or if they want to make money, right?
So Lee, is this why you offer the mentorship program?
Absolutely. So throughout my journey, really starting in 2015, there's been 2 or 3 people that have had a huge influence in my career in terms of informal mentorship. You know, I've applied for formal mentorship programs and never got accepted, but that hasn't prevented these people from really supporting my journey. Whether it's, I remember one to this day, I still remember receiving a Facebook message from Dave Brosha, and it's really part of probably the origin of my bold editing style. Is he said, Lee, it was an image of a waterfall in BC somewhere. I can't remember the name of it. And he said, that's a wonderful composition, Lee, but you need to don't be afraid to push your blacks and whites around. And I knew from Dave it was coming from a real good place, right? I'm like, wow, here's a busy guy taking time out of his life to send me a note.
Wow,
I'm like, wow,
that's great.
Yeah, and I, you know, we're really good friends now, but
that's
I hadn't known him that much back then. And so, and then, you know, that relationship and other relationships have continued, and I've gotten so much support that I always knew that at one point when I felt I was ready, I would offer a mentorship program to really just return the favor, right? And so every year in December, I launch it. So it'll go up my website in December, and then people have a couple weeks to apply.
Okay.
And then I spend my Christmas reviewing the applications, which is always a fun but very challenging experience. I never appreciated those that do those programs, how much of an issue they have, right? Because there's so many people that pour their heart and soul out in 300 or 400 words and make magnificent photos.
Yeah,
and you
I
have to
bet.
say, well, I'm sorry, but right. And so it's an extremely challenging but fun
Pick one over the other
exercise to go through. And then this is perhaps, I don't know, January 1, I phoned them up and say, hey, would you like to be a mentor or a mentee, I guess? And I have, I started off with always a goal of 1. In the first year I ran it, it was way too hard. I was, oh my God, it was way too hard. So I ended up with 2. And then I made it 3 in the last 2 years.
Good for you.
So
That's awesome.
you tripled the hardness, or did you find it easier to mentor 3 people? Like, is it a group thing where you get them all on a chat?
Yeah, in part, I think I made my life a bit, it's a bit of a cop out, actually. Perhaps it's a bit of a cop out on my part, right? Because I don't have to say no to 2 people.
Yeah, there you go.
But I find, but what I learned though is they trade off of each other. They learn from each other, right? So when I had 2 people, they learn from each other, not only myself, and of course I learn stuff and end up with great friends afterwards, but they learn from each other. And so that was really the motivation behind 3. And I think after 3, it becomes a bit unmanageable and you don't get the one-on-one attention that I want to give.
Yeah,
so 3 is a magic number and they love it because they learn from each other, right? So.
Wow, that's awesome.
Is awesome.
What a way to give back, right? It's
paying it forward.
It's great.
Yeah. And it's all because of the support I got. Great leaders behind me, and I'm just trying to carry that forward.
No, excellent.
I'm happy for that you were able to work through things and find your place and move forward. So that's good.
You bet.
Congrats. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, thanks, buddy.
We just want to take a quick break to give a shout out to our title sponsor, The Camera Store in Calgary, Alberta.
The Camera Store is where we go for all our photography and video gear. Whether you're a beginner or a seasoned professional, they've got you covered.
Plus, they ship right across Canada with free shipping on most orders over $99. You can find everything you need at thecamerastore.com.
So you've had some recent, accomplishments, features, and that sort of stuff. Can you tell us a little bit about that? I mean, that's phenomenal. I mean, that's I think one of the messages I sent to you on Instagram there. So
it's I tell you, from a recognition perspective, is probably by far and away my best year. Like I'm so stoked that I have had so many accolades, a lot of hard work, but, and a lot of no's, it's one of these things that, all you hear in social media is the successes. You don't necessarily hear about the no's.
Sure enough. Yeah. But
so, it started off really trying to get my name out there. Right. And as photographers, we're inherently, adverse to try to put ourselves out there, or so, at least I was, right? And so I put myself out there in social media, and then I decided this year, well, you know what? Let's see what I can do whether it was a competition or open calls or just articles, podcasts, right?
Sure.
Put myself out there in a different realm, right? And get my name and photos in front of other people other than social media.
True enough.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I started entering these competitions and started entering open calls and stuff. And then lo and behold, I've had some really good successes in that area. And I'm very excited that I have, and it's been a great ride. It's going to be a tough ride to maintain, but it's a great ride so far. I've really enjoyed it. Wow. Yeah. The most recent was, I had the most exciting one was being selected as part of a contemporary art exhibit in Venice.
Wow.
Crazy, man.
So I had my photographs sat in a gallery that was yards away from the main canal in Venice. And I'm like, it was a bit
holy crap,
mind warping, right? And so,
bit of a pinch me moment.
Pinch me, excellent. Is it real?
Yeah.
Right. Is it real?
Yeah.
I think that's
Crazy,
probably
man.
the
That's
most
awesome.
exciting one.
And was that through a contest or a submission, or did they reach out to you? How did that one happen?
Yeah, so I belong to this website called Artist Archives, and the primary reason, they do many different things, but the primary reason is they send out, I don't know, it's more than monthly, less than quarterly, or sorry, anyway, it's somewhere between monthly and quarterly. A list of all opportunities for all artists across all genres: painting, sculpture, multi-discipline.
Oh, great.
And it's, it's based in the US, so it's, whether it's local, national, or international. And I think it was through that I found it's called YICCA, put out an open call for artists to submit, and it was multi-genre artists to submit work to be exhibited in Venice. And they do this every year. It's called the YICCA Prize. I submitted it and got selected as one of the finalists. And I was like, wow. I woke up, because it's from Europe.
Crazy.
It's one of those things where you wake up to an email that was, at 7 or 8 or 6 in the morning. And it was, I'm like, woohoo! What a thing to wake up to. I was so excited.
Nice.
It was awesome.
Good start to the day. Yeah.
It was an awesome start to the day. It was an awesome start to the day.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we ended up going and seeing it, and there was a lot of very cool artists there that and the way they approached their inspiration. One lady was a CEO of a company in Serbia and retired, and made a sculpture of a lot of the invoices from her company.
No way.
Nice.
Using I can't remember what. She put them on. What's the thing when you make sidewalks? Rebar. She put them on rebar. All these invoices. Put them together, burnt some of them, painted some of them, and created this sculpture of old invoices from her company. It was really cool in terms of the innovation of idea.
Never heard of that before.
I'm a photographer, what I would describe as a traditional format, and these people are dreaming up this other stuff. I'm like, wow, where do you get that idea?
Wow. So again, I mean, to this point, you got to put yourself out there. I mean, I just saw a social media post a couple of days ago. Who was it? Was it part of the Offbeat group or something? I'm not sure, about putting yourself out there. Did you see that?
Yeah, Dave put that out there.
Yeah, Brosha put that out. Yeah. So, so right to what you're saying there, Lee, don't be afraid. The worst thing you could possibly do is being part of the Foothills Camera Club years ago, there were members that had 20, 30, 40,000 images on hard drives and had not shared one. Because either they didn't feel comfortable, they didn't think it was good enough, or, and eventually we kind of got them to break the ice and start submitting. And we're like, holy crap, why are you keeping these on your hard drive? Why are you not printing these? Why are you not, So again, you don't know. So, good advice there, Lee, just get your stuff, find contests, find submissions, find, whatever it is, and just keep submitting, because, it might take you 100 no's, but it only takes that one yes. And look what happened, right? So
absolutely.
Totally.
And I'm reminded by, I'm a big hockey fan. I'm reminded by the greats, Wayne Gretzky's statement. You're going to miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Right. So
exactly.
Yeah, you betcha.
Right. So and I get a lot of no's, but it makes the wins that much sweeter.
No, that's awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that.
For sure. And you have to believe in yourself.
No, and that's the thing. The biggest crime about digital photography, the digital world, is I've got images that I need to go and edit. They're sitting on hard drives. We don't see them. We don't print them. We don't share them. We don't do anything with them. We take them, and then they just are data points on a drive. It's a crime.
Right.
Yeah, you betcha.
Very true.
But on the other side of that too, this came to me. A lot of people might go out and shoot come back, don't want to share, but they've done it for, mental health, right? They went out with the idea of being outdoors. Oh, they took some photos, they enjoyed the experience. They downloaded, might send one to mom and dad or something like that, not necessarily share the social media, but it was, again, like you'd mentioned before, an escape,
all the more power to them. And if they're doing that for that reason, that is fantastic. And even just showing mom and dad.
That's right.
On the back of the camera, even showing mom and dad or friends in the back of the camera.
Show somebody. Yeah.
Is wonderful. Right? Like you don't have to spend dollars printing it or God only knows social media has its challenges. We don't have to all do that, but show someone.
Oh, for sure.
And if you're getting out for mental health, fantastic. That's awesome. And I sure hope it's helping.
Yeah, you bet. Based on your photography, we have a question here where we kind of ask you your favorite locations and that kind of stuff. But I mean, I guess you could pretty much just say the Canadian Rockies. Am I correct in that?
I think the Rockies are a wonderful place. I love them. Whether, again, I'm my favorite highway in the world, and not that I've driven a ton of highways in the world, is the Icefield Parkway between Lake Louise and Jasper is just like it. I have yet to be on a highway. Haines Junction to Haines, Alaska is close, but not there yet. But that's probably my second. Also mountainous, so maybe I don't know. Maybe that's my. But Rockies are so magnificent and offer so much from the valley floor to the peaks, and are such a vast unexplored area. Having said that, I love Greenland. I'm going back to Namibia and Africa here. I'm going for 5 weeks, and I love those areas, and because they're a contrast to the Rockies. Wow. I still call my favorite place the Rockies. Best playground in the world.
Oh, absolutely. You betcha, for sure.
And so close.
Well, yeah, I'm looking out at the mountains right now as we speak.
Like, how lucky are we to live so close?
No kidding. Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, we are so blessed to live so close.
But I even find like the Icefields Parkway, like you were saying, like sometimes it might take a couple hours to drive or whatever, but you end up always being on there double the time because you're stopping to look around and take photos and get out and enjoy the air and the scenery. It's just an amazing, amazing road.
Yeah. People ask you, how long does it take? And I'm like, well, are you a photographer or not a photographer? Because, if you're not a photographer, not that long.
Totally.
Right. Cause I don't know how many times I've stopped along the parkway. Random stops, like, dating myself, Kodak moments, right? And along the highway, if it's safe to do so, and capture some images. At times I joke with myself, instead of creating a bear jam, I create a landscape jam, because everybody's interested in what I'm shooting. When
that's awesome.
When they say when I say landscape, they move on, but they're all slowing down and stopping and going, what are you shooting? What are you shooting?
It's funny you say that, because when I drive by, that's the first thing I'd look at is the lens, because I can tell if it's a wide angle or if it's a telephoto, right? So if it's a wide angle, I just keep going. You know what I mean?
Well, my issue is I shoot with the telephoto all the time, especially if it's from the road. I shoot with my telephoto all the time. So, but the problem is generally pointed. It's pointed like this, right? So, out the window.
Mountain goat's up there, maybe. Is that what's going on?
Yeah, unless it's a mountain goat. Yeah, it's not wildlife.
We touched on social media a little bit ago, and you were kind of saying something about, the posting and stuff. So, like, how do you approach social media? And is it a crutch for you, or do you enjoy it? You're posting to Instagram, Facebook. Are you posting to any of the other platforms like Vero and LinkedIn? Yeah.
So I've had a roller coaster ride, as we all have, with social media. And, I started off with the world, caught up in the world of, I need to post every day to get the algorithm to start churning, and ended up posting horrible stuff. Again, drove myself part of the reason I drove myself to a dark place. And so over time, I posted when I want, what I want, and forget there are floors of people in Silicon Valley that are way smarter than me, building algorithms and changing algorithms every day that, what is the latest way to get the algorithm to work for you? It may work today, but it's not going to work for you tomorrow.
Yeah, you can't keep up.
Right? And so I just gave up and trying to play with that algorithm game. There's thousands of them working, let alone one little photographer sitting in Canmore.
Yeah,
right?
Sure.
I can't figure that stuff out. So I've got to the point where I post what I want, when I want, and I've got a small but loyal following. Right? Yes, I would love the tens of thousands of followers, but reality is my type of work, and it doesn't fit the scroll the 5-second or 4-second rule. You actually have to sit down and take a look at it, and it's not color, so it's not going to catch your eye. So I've just grown to accept the loyal audience. I love the loyal audience I have. I love the conversations that we have. I always struggle with how to respond to an emoji response. I don't know. How do I respond to an emoji? Right? So I love
the thumbs up, and
I love not, and there's reasons for emojis, and I get it, but I love those people that make a comment. And I can engage with them and have a conversation with them about the adventure, the photo, whatever. Right? I love that. Right? And so
those are the best.
that's where I've gotten to the point now where, interestingly, I don't mind doing we talked about video earlier. I like doing the behind the scenes of videos of the adventures and doing a quick reel or story for Instagram. I enjoy that. I have fun with it. Right. Not that I'm ever going to get deep into video, but I enjoy doing that stuff. Right. So that's where I've landed with social media is when I want, what I want, and I don't care about the algorithms, and I don't care about my following, how many likes I get, whatever. It is what it is.
Is what it is, Joe.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's
He
saying.
loves it when I say that.
Chris says it all the time. I'm like, oh my God, here we go. I think that's the general consensus, though. In today's day and age, is the post when you want, what you want, because like you said, you just can't keep up. And I mean, sometimes it's weeks for, myself and Chris or the nature photo guys, Instas and stuff that we post, because I mean, we all have busy lives, and it's not that we don't want to, but it's a different game now. So, we're more or less posting something that's meaningful, something that, we've just participated in. Like, we did a couple of elk rut photos and stuff because we're there during the elk rut, so just like you would post a mountain shot because you're just in the mountains, like stuff like that. But I don't feel the pressure anymore to post once or twice a day. Like I used to do that, and it got tiring. I mean, yeah, sure, it grew your subscriber list a little bit, but in the end, I mean, was it worth it?
Yeah, exactly.
So Lee, what current projects do you have on the go right now? Because I'm sure you've kind of got a list in the background, thinking like every time you go out, okay, this will be good for this certain project and that. Like, so do you have anything on the go, like, or something that you can
I do
touch on?
One of my goals is to get a book published, right? And I'm trying to create, again, something different from the Rockies. So I'm going to try to create a book called Below the Peak. And so it's all images of the Rockies without a peak in them.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a great concept.
And it's trying to showcase in the nuances and details of this beautiful place that we live in. And so I've got various, call it chapters or subjects matters. One that I'm currently working on, and it's a delicate subject at the moment, given what has happened in Jasper and elsewhere, is a subject matter called renewal. where, forest fires are extremely devastating and sad event, especially when things like Jasper happen. My hometown had a third of the town was wiped out because of a forest fire. But I want to tell the story that naturally occurring forest fires where humans are not impacted, right, or dramatically impacted, have a real benefit, and they renew the ecosystem
they're necessary. Absolutely,
they're necessary, right? Naturally occurring, So I want to tell the story from really, the start of to where a forest is in the process of or nearing the end of renewal, right? And so I'm working on that at the moment and then every time I go out, I've got another part of the Below the Peak series is Below from Above. So it's, if I'm high up or if I'm out in the appropriate area where I can use a drone in the Rockies, a drone, or I did a helicopter ride this summer. So it's everything doesn't include a peak, but it's from above. And then I've got various other subject matters that I capture when I'm out. So that's really what I'm working on at the moment.
Well, it sounds like a really cool concept for a book. Really cool concept for a book, because when you mention the Canadian Rockies, people just think of majestic peaks. At least I do. Yeah. Well, I think about the wildlife, but in general, when you're talking the landscape stuff, you're thinking of all these majestic peaks. So
grand landscapes,
and that's going to be a great idea.
Not that I don't go out and take photographs of peaks, because I do, because I'm still enamored by them, right? But I did an exhibit in 2020, and meeting with my printer, Royce, he basically said, "Look, Lee, you got to come up with a unique theme for your unique story or a theme that you want to tell." So I went back and I went through 4 or 5 years of photographs and found that I had inherently been attracted to stuff without peaks, and so I called it Below the Peak, thinking that would be it, right? And then it's inspired me more, and every time I go out, that's all I see now. I want to see those peak shots, those wide epic peak shots. I can't see it anymore. I want to see it. I need to train my eye, right? So, and that's really the origin of this whole concept.
Very cool concept. Yeah, that's great.
Cool. No, that's great. Well, and it just goes to show you how you've grown as a photographer, how things change, styles change. You're ever evolving. I think we all are as photographers. Where the minute you stop, I think, you become kind of stagnant and maybe things aren't fun for you anymore. But, I would think most photographers, when they look from the beginning to where they are now and then where they're going to be, it's changing. And that's the great part. That's the fun part of photography, right?
Absolutely. It's the, there's experimentation and that experimenting, which helps to development. And I think if there's, people that are just starting out, or even if today, high-end professionals, always experiment, right? Because that's how you're going to continue to grow and develop as a photographer and become better.
Yeah, you bet. No, that's awesome.
Explore different sides of yourself. Yeah. I mean, even me, like years and years ago, I was doing a lot more landscapes and met this guy, and then it ended up becoming majority of wildlife the last number of years. And even like 2 weeks ago, we were in Waterton and I was exploring, taking the long lens out, taking some intimate landscape shots, like close-ups of mountains and close-ups of tree lines and different things, and just kind of explore from within to see if that grows into something that you might be interested in.
Absolutely. I've been saying this for some time. I want to get back into portraiture, and I'm trying. I joke about seeing in color. It's hard for me to see in color, and I'm trying to retrain my eye a little bit. Not that I'm going to go, abandon the whole black and white realm, because I love it, but just to see color, right? And try to get some unique color shots of the Rockies.
Yeah, you bet. I was going to ask you about color, so you just kind of answered that. Yeah, that's awesome. No, again, you're growing, right? You grow as a photographer, so now you're going to try something a little different. Do
you have your cameras set to black and white, or are you still taking color?
That's a great
images?
question, Chris. So when I started out, I did.
Okay.
Right. And I think for people starting out in black and white photography, I think it's a great way. I always say this in my presentations, though, is make sure you're in RAW, because in RAW it's only a display mode. In JPEG, it's that's what you get, right? You get a JPEG, black and white. You don't get anything else, right? So, and if the issue with RAW is it's raw, it's not edited, so it can look a bit flat. So if you want to put on a small, fine black and white, and you'll get some sense of, or JPEG, and you'll get some sense of contrast. But I've taken so many photos, certainly in the Rockies, that I know by looking at the histogram and by looking at the scenery, I know if it's going to be a black and white image or not. It's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, not even close. But I don't shoot in monochrome anymore now.
Okay, cool.
You've learned to see, so you kind of understand exactly what you're taking.
I've learned to see the contrast and especially when I look at the histogram and what I can get and not get.
Nice. Okay, that makes sense.
So we're getting close to the end here, Lee, but we got a couple more important questions.
Sure.
I'm just going to read this one as opposed to coming off the cuff here. So looking back on your journey as a photographer, what are some of the key lessons or insights you've learned that you wish you would have known back when you first started? Which is, it's a pretty common question, I think, that we ask as photographers, like, oh man, I wish I would have known that 20 years ago, that kind of stuff. Is there one or two things you might be able to share, or are we really putting you on the spot?
I touched already on the one, and that's experiment.
Yeah.
Right? When you're first starting out, or even no matter where you're at in your journey, you got to experiment. But if you're starting out, find out what you really like to do, right? So I know you and Paul talked about the settings and learning the technical side of photography. It's an important element. To be honest, what I tell people today is if they're just starting out, take your camera out and use those automatic modes. Yeah, you're not going to get great in terms of the exposure. You may not get a perfect photo, but find out what you love to shoot, what gets you excited in the heart, and what gets you the butterflies in the stomach going. Then learn the technical on that side of the thing. I started down this path of trying to learn all this technical mumble jumble about hyperfocal distance and all this other, what I call rubbish, and didn't spend enough time on finding out what excited me in shooting photography. And with the apps that we have today, and the cameras aren't perfect. With the cameras we have today, I think, outside of understanding the exposure triangle and white balance, right? Yeah. For the average amateur, they kick ass, and you don't need to spend a ton of time on the technical side, for sure. Right? You got to learn the buttons of your camera so you don't frustrate yourself, but don't unless you are a technician and love that stuff and love going down all that stuff, then there's YouTube videos galore that can help you. But if you just love the art of photography, that's where you spend your time, right? And only learn the bare minimum on the technical side that you need to do to augment the art side of your photography.
Great comment. Yeah.
Well, it's funny you say that, because there's two things. When I started out early, I was like a studio photographer. I was a very technical guy. Like I could light anything, use the light meter, 3 or 4, whatever it was, but I didn't have an eye. I was so jealous of people that could see and create these wonderful portraits and scenes and everything. And so it took me so long. Well, I don't know if I can still see, but anyways, it took me so long to develop an eye. Because like you said, the technical part, anybody can learn the technical part. So developing that creative eye. So when I see these people that or these photographers just starting out and taking these amazing images, but don't know what aperture and shutter and ISO have to do with each other, I'm jealous of that, because it's like, wow, look at their creative eye. Like they've got that ingrained or that natural ability. So good point, Lee. Like, don't worry about the technical stuff. You'll learn that. You can spend a weekend on YouTube and get that down, as far as depth of field and using the hyperfocal distance for that sort of thing. But it's the development of the eye. So just get out there, shoot. And, your style will develop. But great point for sure.
And if you're on a workshop or you have the ear of a wonderful photographer that you admire, don't ask them what settings they use to get that shot. Ask them why they see the way they see, how they see it, to get into their artistic brain. You know, I did it, and I see so many people asking, well, what are the settings for that? And how do you like, and I'm like, get out of that realm and just talk art and talk how they see and what they see and why they see it, what it excites them.
Do you know who Art Wolf is? Or have you heard of Art Wolf?
Yep, I've heard of him. Yep.
Yeah. So he's been to Calgary a few times. I've listened to him speak and that sort of thing. And it's funny you say that, Lee, because that's the exact same thing he had said, was that on work, like he travels, he's been doing workshops for like 30 years, like he's world renowned. But when customers ask him or participants ask him, what kind of camera and does it do this and does it do that? And he goes like, I don't know. He said, like, I know I can adjust those 3 things, and that's all that really matters to me. I don't know if it does, 100 frames per second. I don't know if it has auto animal eye detect. It doesn't matter. It's just a tool. It's got a sensor. He can adjust, what he needs to adjust, and he creates art, right? So, and here's a guy that's, has got over 60 books, I think, that's world renowned, and he can't talk shop when it comes to cameras, you know? So again, to your point, that stuff is easily learned. Worry about creating art.
Yeah. I you know what? And people ask me the latest and greatest about the gear. I go, I have no clue. When I want to buy a new lens or a new camera body or whatever, I'll do the research at that point in time. And then it becomes, as you know, with the advancements in technology, becomes extinct 3 months later.
Right.
I'm not a gearhead either.
You can't keep up.
No, you can't.
I'm sure they're talking about an R5 Mark III already, Yeah.
Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, when I bought my MacBook a couple years, was it 2-3 years ago? I was already behind. There's already an M2. Yeah, the day I bought it, still had the M1 chip. Now it's got an M2. I think we're up to an M3 or an M4 now. And this is only a couple years ago. You will go broke if you try and keep up with technology. Like it's impossible, right?
Yeah, it's just a tool. As you say, Joe, it's just a tool.
And the point of this is that it's not necessary to create art.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, I still sell images taken from my 5D Mark III that I bought in 2012 or whatever. I mean, the tools definitely get better, and there's reason we do upgrade at times. But I mean, like you said, I mean, it's if you got a great photograph, if you got to have a great image, people are still going to love your image no matter what camera you're taking it with. So
absolutely. And the phones today are like, you can take some magnificent photos with phones today. It's crazy. Right.
And I was talking to Chris so I got the iPhone 14 Pro, and I was asking him, should I upgrade to the 16? But some of these YouTube channels, Lee, I mean, they're all created with a 14 shot on 4K. Like the resolution for video alone is incredible, let alone the photos, So it's, I mean, you got a wicked camera in your pocket, you could go and shoot, you can spend the weekend with your phone and create incredible landscape photos.
People ask me what camera I should get, and I'm like, what do you want to do with it? If you just want to post on social media and don't want to print big prints, whatever camera you've got, like whatever phone you've got, chances are, unless you're, you haven't upgraded for many years, you got a great camera right there. And unless you want to shoot a lot of wildlife where the zoom hasn't quite got there yet, that's your camera. If you're just shooting landscapes, your phone is your camera.
Well, look at how good those kits are off the shelf. You can buy a starter kit, like you can buy a mirrorless camera with a T7i or whatever with a 18 to 55 or something for $500 or something. I mean, look at the technology in that, based on what we started back, when digital first started, and yet still have the ability to print those images. So
my Olympus 2 megapixel camera, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, so exactly. Olympus there, Chris. I think my first digital was I remember talking to someone going, don't get a digital zoom, get an actual zoom. And it was Olympus 3.2 megapixel camera. I think that bought.
It's probably the same camera.
Wow.
Yeah.
I remember taking that camera on a trip back to Ontario to see my wife's family, and I took all these photos the whole way. And was able to get like 300 images on like this one card, and I got home and realized that they're all like thumbnail size, like they're all this because you could take so many photos. So that was a good learning experience.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, for sure.
We've all got stories like that.
Cool. For sure. Yeah. So, Lee, any tips you'd like to share or with any aspiring nature photographers? Be anything from shooting to starting out. Any tips you'd want to share with anybody
you never know,
that wants to get into nature photography?
We've touched on this, and I've touched on this.
Mm-hmm.
I think whatever it is that you do and want to do, have fun with it and take time to enjoy the moments. Art comes from your heart and your belly, and I firmly believe in that. Don't listen to the rules. I don't believe in rules. I don't believe in guidelines. There's never been a master of any genre of art that said, I created this masterpiece because I followed this rule. They had a vision. They fell in love with whatever it is that they created. And so I think just following your gut, following your heart, have fun. Don't get caught up in the turmoil of social media. If you're running a business, try to run a business that photography that you love to do. Yeah, if you have to earn money, you may have to do things outside of that, but the best work you're going to do is the stuff that you love to do and the stuff that you have fun doing. And that's what people will gravitate to.
Yeah, it's some great advice.
Awesome.
Because that was kind of the last question. Any last words? But I think those are perfect there, Lee. So really appreciate you saying that. So I think anybody starting out can certainly take that to heart. So
I wish I would have done that.
Well, and that's it. Yeah, you bet. So, well, Lee, you know what? We really appreciate you coming on. This was awesome to talk to you, get a little bit of insight into your journey and your art. And of course, everyone, we're going to have everything Lee has out there as far as websites and social media links and shows and article. Everything's going to be listed below the podcast. So please take a look at those. And again, Lee, appreciate you coming on, sir. And
yes, thanks, Lee. Go Flames, by the way.
Thanks so much, guys. This was awesome. What's that? Yeah. What did he say?
Did you? Oh, there it is.
I said, go Flames, by the way.
Oh, buddy. Oh, I thought this was going to be a cordial conversation. So exactly where are
okay, guys, that's a totally different podcast.
Chris, where are we going to land in the standings? Should we
we'll reconvene this conversation in 3 years when we have a new building. So.
Okay. Guys, take it outside. This is a different podcast altogether.
Okay.
That's awesome.
Thanks for coming on, Lee. You've been awesome. So much appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I really enjoyed it. Thanks so much for having me. You guys are awesome. This is a great podcast, and I really had a lot of fun.
Much appreciated. Thanks,
awesome.
Lee.
Thanks for joining me.
Take care, everyone.
Before we wrap up, we'd like to thank the Camera Store for supporting the Nature Photo Guys podcast.
They're a legendary name in photography, and their support helps us keep bringing you these episodes.
Don't forget to check them out at thecamerastore.com for all your photography and video needs.
Thanks for joining us on the Nature Photo Guys podcast. If you have any questions, contact us at info@thenaturePhotoGuys.ca or message us on Facebook and Instagram at the Nature Photo Guys podcast. Visit YouTube and subscribe to our channel to watch all our latest videos. Or follow and listen to our latest podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or on our website at thenaturePhotoGuys.ca. We'll catch you next time on the Nature Photo Guys podcast.